All right, '06 Chevy, and I have the caliper here laid out, and I'm not stretching my hose. I'm working here though, and what I've done is I've taken an old brake pad. I pulled the bracket off, and I've used this simple little tool. Got here in the center, and I've pushed those pucks back. I'm going to clean this up with a mask on. Be sure you wear a mask when you're working and cleaning brakes and stuff. And but I push the pucks back, and now what I'm going to do is here's the bracket, and I've already put new clips in, and I'm cleaning this up. But I push the new clips in. It's always important that you put new clips in. Don't skimp. They should come with these new clips. So be sure you put those in. Press your pucks back. I'll clean this up. Now, I do have new sliding bolts that I'll be installing, but these get greased. Some people will put a little grease on the back of the pads here. Don't get too much. You certainly don't want it on the front of the pads. Be sure you'll get the orientation right on these brakes too, but I'll come back with some more videos, but this is the beginning of the process of basically servicing the brakes while I'm here. I'm going to go ahead and put new brake pads in, clean this up real good. I'm filing the ends here where the brackets go and so forth to make sure I've got plenty of rust off and anything. And then I can reinstall the caliper and everything and get ready to put it up here now on this hub and rotor that I just installed in a previous video. All right, more to come. Okay, now you can see my springs clips are inserted. And I have cleaned this up with some brake cleaner. And on the back of the brake shoes here, I did put a little synthetic grease. I'm going to do it on the back of them. Nothing on the front. You can file these edges a little bit to clean them up. Now, look at the orientation. Make sure you get the brakes in correct. I mean, they should, you know, fit in the groove. You can see how they're curved a certain way. And so take your time, make sure they're sitting into the springs. Springs are designed to hold them in place. You may have to wrestle with it a little bit because the clips, you may have to pick them up and pinch them a little bit just to get them to fit in there. Now, you should have already compressed the puck because you're going to need just have a narrow space now to get this up on your rotor here. So, all right, but it's ready now to go up and be installed. So the new brake shoes are in. So I'll get this installed now up here on the rotor. Okay, and here's a view then with the caliper now sitting on the rotor. And I've got two bolts started here. I'm replacing these bolts. So I've got new pads in here. Now I've lost my cap to my bleeder. I'll have to find it. Here it is here. But otherwise, these will be torqued down. My cable will be reinstalled, and should be good to go. I'll pump the brakes. Like I said, these have already been bled anyway, so I've got fresh brake fluid. My hoses are in good shape. So, all right, that's the brake job. While I'm here, I did want to also mention that I'm just in a habit from working on motorcycles. I always replace my caliper bolts. And if you don't know how these are replaced, thought I'd capture it real quick. This pushes into that bellow. That's all it does, pushes in there. Now you need to grease it. Grease it good. Don't grease the end. Just grease this because it does push all the way in. Grease this. This pushes in. Basically, it pushes into the bellow there, or the rubber fitting. And then this bolt, you have another bolt that actually brings the bracket into that. So I replace these. It's just a standard habit of mine because on motorcycles, normally when you do brake work, I tell you to go ahead and replace those caliper bolts, these sliding bolts. So I did replace them too, just as a side note. Okay, now let me add this since I inserted these new slide bolts in, and you can see I replaced them, and they just sit inside the rubber piece there. This does, and then this is going to be torqued down on the outside here. They're 3/4. I did tighten them up, and then now I have installed the entire caliper bracket holding the caliper on with the 2 bolts. And when you're putting these 2 on, rotate back and forth. Don't tighten one down first. I mean, tighten a little here until you get it all even. So here is a sort of big broad view. You see that new brake pad in there, the new springs are in, clips, and the pads, the calipers on, the new rotor. I'm gonna have to clean all this down again with some brake clean. I'm ready to reinstall my brackets up here, and my ABS is gonna be able to be reconnected. I'm gonna be able to put my outer tie rod on, and pretty much this side is done of the suspension now. All right, so if you haven't seen my earlier videos, I've tracked each component so that if you're just doing one of these, hopefully it's easy to find. I may come back later when it's all done and stitch one big long video together for the entire job. Hopefully this is helpful. All right, and now here is that new ABS cable back in place and snap back. It comes with all the fittings going back up and plugged back in. See that here's that brake cable now back in place, coming around to the caliper. All right. All right, the caliper bracket, I torqued it to 139. I'm going to torque these sliding bolts to 80 and call this job done.